whatever be the position you are in. I read this and I was like, okay, this is very true. These are paradoxes of leadership. They say you need to have a close relationship with your team, right? But you also need to maintain the distance. Now, isn't that opposite?
Yes.
You need to lead from the front, but you'll be in the background. You need to cut yourself into two, right? You need to trust your staff, but you have to be watchful, right? You have to empower, but you have to dictate. You need to have department goals, right? And on the other hand, you need to have organizational loyalty. Plan to perfection, but you need to be flexible. You need to be open, but you need to be diplomatic. You cannot be open every time with everybody, right? Somebody is not doing well in work. Can you say you're not doing well in the work? You can't do that. You need to be diplomatic, right? But you need to be open as well. Visionary, but practicality. Consensus, directive, dynamic, reflective, confident, humble. How to be confident and be humble? Interesting, right? Now these are the paradoxes, right? These are paradoxes of leadership, and I can tell you from what I could understand in this whole thing is that basically it is situation based, and even though you are on the yellow band, you need to mix the red band into what you're doing, right? It's always a mix of both. So you can't be seen as a confident person, as a leader, but you think, what do you call it? Headway. Yeah? We have come to the next brain tickler. What are these 5 stages? Can you tell me? Sorry? First is denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Guys, I'm stopping. You're very good. Okay, fantastic. Now we just get into this thing, this whole area called facilitation. Now what is facilitation? And why do you need facilitation to implement a change, right? Now, there are 2 things. Doing the work, okay, is a task, right? Now task requires a leader, but managing the process requires a facilitator. Okay, this is something you need to remember always. Doing the task requires a leader, but using the process requires a facilitator, because a facilitator cannot be a leader always. Okay? In some cases, of course, it could be the leader and the facilitator can be the same person, but advisable to have 2 separate people. Now, what is facilitation? It's basically art and science of managing a process. Select, monitor, oversee a process, suggest ideas to processes to team, ideas of the processes to team. He's an influencer in the group, he's an influencer of the team, influencer of the management. He's the best person in situations to get ideas, to give ideas. He doesn't give ideas, he always gets ideas, right? He can collect ideas, but not give ideas, because giving ideas is the task of the leader, not the facilitator. You can always give good news, bad news, right? And in an individual role, especially when groups are disoriented, okay, it becomes quite ineffective. Now, in such situations, an individual role of a facilitator is very essential. Facilitator role, when does this role of facilitator come in? It comes in when there is high uncertainty of the task. Okay? When the objective of the task is not clear, when there are tight time schedules and the group is dysfunctional. Okay? Now, a leader cannot step into the shoes of a facilitator in this situation, because high uncertainty of task. Uncertainty of task is given by the leader. Now, which means what task he is narrating or he's given to the team is not able to grasp it. Which means you need someone who can understand what the task is and run the process with the team. Okay? Similarly with objective, time scales, very tight time scales. So as I mentioned here, all tasks are by task leaders and all processes are managed by facilitators. Characteristics of a facilitator. Well, there are some things in terms of reaction to change, how a facilitator should react to change. He should be positive about the change. He should be quite change-oriented, right? Change-oriented does not mean like the one before, every day morning I come, okay, I want to have a change. That's not change-oriented. When there is a change required, you should be able to adapt, adopt, absorb, and run it with the team. Okay? You should be bold, brave, risk taker, and you should be ideas oriented. Again, not an idea giver, but an idea oriented. Accept ideas. The second is speed of reaction. You should be quick to react because, as I said earlier, change is quite instant at times, right? You should be able to handle crisis and emotions, flexible and adaptable. Okay? Reaction to stress. He should be able to manage his own stress. If you can't manage his own stress, what are you going to manage the stress of the team? Correct? Team is even more stressed. So, you need to manage your own emotions, right? Calm even when you're losing out. In a project, if you're running into a huge loss or a problem, running into a delayed project execution, right? You need to have a facilitator who's able to accept that loss and still remain calm while working with the team. Okay? You should be a low worrier, low stress. You should be extrovert. You should be able to think aloud. Can't be an introvert. Okay, I have this. I know this idea. I know what it means, but I don't give it to the team. I don't run the process. Then there's no point. Approach to process. You should be interested and committed to the process, right? Process oriented. Again, you should be a low profile catalyst. Now, catalyst is a team leader. Okay, he can be a catalyst but not a process person. But a facilitator is definitely should not be a catalyst, but he should be a process person. Okay, and he should be an extrovert again, as I mentioned earlier. Overall, he should be quite knowledgeable. That's the key. Okay. Now, this is the industry trend today. Most companies or many companies across industries are looking at specific people who can run change, right? The trend is kind of changing. Earlier it used to be project managers, delivery managers. They could run change process within the organization. Today, they are looking at specific people in change management. Now this presentation I picked up from a reference book called Making Sense of Change Management. This is by Esther Cameron and Michael Green. Okay, Mike Green, sorry. Now, this is a reference book which APMG uses, right, for our qualifications. Of course, I didn't tell you what APMG is all about, yeah, which I'll get into. He's Richard Farrell. He was an ex-civil services person in the Britain. And last year, that is 2012 actually, we won the Queen's Award for Enterprise, Worldwide Enterprise. Okay. Now, it's a very coveted award that any company can get, a British company can get. Okay. Actually, people are invited to have dinner with the Queen. If that makes any sense for all of us. Anyway, now about APMG, we're one of the largest project and program qualifications body. Okay, we were the official accreditors for UK's Cabinet Office qualifications best portfolio, and we have global access to leading qualifications. This scenario has changed from this year because now it is going to be Axelos, which is a company which has won the contract with the British government. So APMG will remain as as one of the examination institutions. We have about 30 countries today. We support 30 products in 21 languages, over 80 world-class qualifications, and this is the number of accredited trainers we have worldwide, 1,400 plus. And this is the list of the programs that we run. So if you look at the project management portfolio, we have management of value, program project portfolio office, MOP, which is management of portfolio, agile project management, managing benefits. On the other hand, we have ITIL, lean IT, service catalog, a lot of these areas, and cross-functional areas like risk, Kobashi, earned values, sourcing, change, and facilitation. This is one of the reasons why I combined the two, change and facilitation management. So these are the other products in our portfolio. We've also recently tied up with ISACA for COBIT. We offer COBIT 5 qualifications. We have tied up with this. Axilos, of course, is the front runner for the Cabinet Office qualification, the earlier Cabinet Office. IITIM, which is Asset Managers qualification. Then we have TOGAF, of course, a lot of other qualifications that we run here. Now, to end it, the two APMG qualifications. What is this? What is that seen there? Can you not read Kannada? Googly. It's a googly question. I didn't want to write googly, so I put a picture there. I'm sure we'll relate to that better. The two APMG qualifications that we covered.
Change and facilitation.
I think you should join APMG. All right, change management. Sorry?
Yeah, please give us out.
When are you making the offer?
Right, please take your exams. You're welcome. Big part of the APMG professionals, certified professionals. And this is the facilitation, and these are my coordinates. APMG is not a training organization. We only provide certifications for individuals. We accredit training organizations and work with partners like KPMG, who are one of the partners today for this event as well. I thank KPMG. I also thank Unicom for having given this opportunity to us. Thank you very much.
Chairman, that was all of the presentations from outside.
Thank you very much.
Microsoft IT development team in Hyderabad. The team that report under them are responsible for several line of business applications across Microsoft. Prior to this, Tanuj was a partner product unit manager for SQL business unit within IDC, with primary responsibility for SQL database application management and SQL service compaction in database. And the topic which he'll be talking about is going to be game-changing database.
How many of you remember this? You must have seen this in some highlights, some of the other. Right, Australia, thanks to that catch, went on to win the match, and it was a game changer. But the act of, and this became pretty common after that, but this was the first time this was actually done, when you caught the ball outside. Look at that catch. If you see the highlights of that catch, you actually find one of the Indian players, interestingly, jumping almost horizontal to the ground, to be able to actually take that catch. Which again, given Indian fielding conditions back in the day, this wasn't quite
and he takes some spectacular catches. Just look at this one. Outside edge behind him, flying, horizontal, brilliant.
Okay, game changers. And what they did there was they brought in, all the brilliant minds from across the globe, and they wanted to talk about, the ever closing bridge between continents and divides and so on. The Cold War was sort of receding and so on and so forth. Now, one of the brilliant minds there was this guy, and needs no introduction in India. Some of the other places you go, you end up introducing this person. How many of you read his works in some capacity? Isaac Asimov. Yeah, not too many Asimov fans. Okay, he used to write a lot of science fiction. Now, one of the things they had these guys do, and they had Asimov do as well, was say, predict the world as it will be 50 years from now. And literally this was like a time capsule experiment. You actually put in a bunch of your notes, put in a capsule, and they took it out this year to look at what was in there. And this is the list that was in there. And let's just go through this list very quickly and try and understand what Asimov was trying to predict. He said communication will be sight and sound, so you'll be able to hear as well as see the person. It was quite path breaking at that time, telephones were barely there. right? Of course, today, Skype, Tango, everything that you can think of is quite the norm. Electroluminescent cells panels will be in common use. Right? They didn't have a better way of describing LCD and LED and plasma, but this is effectively, we're quite there right now. Wall screens will have replaced ordinary set. TVs there were black and white and this small, and he said there'll be wall screens, but we'll also have three-dimensional viewing capability possible. So, without quite conceptualizing it, he basically said that we will have, 3D views of our world quite around there. Robots will neither be common nor mainstream. This was a time when everybody felt that everybody's job is going to get taken over by robots, and we know that that's not the case. Vehicles will have robotic brains now. And if you look at the video that Dr. Ravi showed, and you see some of the research that's happening in cars, with self-parking, self-parallel parking and stuff, it's quite fantastic right now. It also talked about the fact that we will have appliances with no electric cords. And, they talked about, he talked about where we'll have long-lived batteries, which will probably be radioisotopes or nuclear powered. I'm glad we don't need to have nuclear as yet. Lithium ion was just as well. But cordless devices, I'm running on one right now, is quite the reality today. And just think about this: 1964, 50 years, 2014. Imagine the brilliance of the guy to be able to sort of think this far ahead and be able to actually predict what we might do or might be doing 50 years from now. Which brings me to our first game. Remember we talked about game changers? So my first game is, who's in this audience going to be able to predict what we're going to be doing 50 years in the future? Raise your hand and shout out whatever you think might be a game changer.
Moving across planets.
We'll be moving across planets. Okay, haven't heard that one before. I've done this session quite a few times.
Flying cars. On the moon every year.
Flying car. I'm sorry?
Vacation in the moon.
Vacation on the moon. Okay. Honeymoon on Mars. Okay. You're talking about basically the fact that travel will be, across planets, across geos, and so on. Okay. What else?
Flying to Earth.
Flying to work. Okay.
Maybe
What else?
another Earth.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Another planet.
Maybe another planet. Okay. There's somebody out there. I'm sorry? Okay, nice. Okay, you know what? You saw the concept video this morning by Mr. Ravi, right? When he closed, he said something which was quite profound there. He said, all of this that you're looking at is a reality not 50 years out, 5 to 10 years out, right? And in fact, some of the work that's happening in the various research labs across the world, it feels like it's going to be like 3 to 5 years out. It's not even 5 to 10 years out. So we are living in a world where, things are accelerating, the change is happening so fast that it's really hard to predict what's going to be happening 50 years from now. Right? Now, that doesn't mean, I heard a bunch of good ideas out here, which I'm sure somebody's going to go implement, and you guys will implement. But it feels like, those are 15-year, 20-year ideas, not 50-year ideas. And so, just a show of hands, how many of you are in the IT industry here? I'm assuming most of you, and so this is relevant. Okay. So now this is a simpler question, which is, predict the future of IT in 50 years from now.
No development.
No development. Okay. What else?
Testing.
Only testing. Okay. What else?
You just think and the application will be developed.
You just think and the application will be developed. Okay, I love that one, right? I don't. Okay, what you're saying is quite profound. That you're saying basically that I don't need an IT department, which means all of us will be jobless very soon. That's a good place to be.
Pick up the other jobs that Ravi spoke about.
Pick up the other jobs that Ravi talked about. Okay.
No more physical presentations like
No more presentations. Okay, great. Yeah, you have these holographic presentations that are already happening and so on. Okay, so it's a hard question, but it's a question that we obviously want to answer, and then talk about how do we become relevant in that state. Now, this is an interesting Forrester study that was done, and it talked about basically, it asked a bunch of folks, what is your percentage of budget, total revenues that is on IT spend, right? And they asked different populations. Obviously, the CIOs, who have the answer, they know the answer, it's about 5% worldwide. They asked IT employees like ourselves, how much do you think you're spending? And the answer was interesting, it was about 6%. And then they asked the businesses who were actually deriving value out of these organizations, said, how much are you spending? And interestingly, the number was 8%. They said, looks like we're spending a lot more, right, on IT. Now there was a different question that was asked, which is, they were asked, IT departments accelerate business success. Is this statement true or false? Of the CIOs, you sort of expect the answer to be 100%, because that's their job. Interestingly, it was only 67%. The 33% were actually looking for a job. Because they realized they weren't adding value on there. If you look at IT employees, the number was about 50%. Right? They said basically, I think only half of us are adding value back to the organization in what we're doing. If you look at the business, it was also about half of it, right? So what seems to be happening is, what we're hearing is, the businesses are saying that, look, you're not adding enough value for me, and it appears to me that you're too expensive for me, right? If you put those two trends together, and then add to that the fact that, the boundaries between these are diminishing now, right? It used to be a very clear boundary between I was a technologist, I was a business leader, I was an end user, and now everybody thinks they're everybody, right? The business leader creates the shadow IT app in their sort of garage and starts publishing it. It's on the cloud, everybody starts using it. Well, it's no longer a shadow app anymore after that, right? And then they go, I don't understand what value I get out of this technology department out there, right? And then the questions start. So we are coupled with this, what we are finding is no IT is increasingly become a reality, right? What we're finding is IT departments pretty much everywhere are now having to compete, not just inside, but also outside for the business. Inside, I gave you the example, under the floor, and outside because, this mom and pop shop suddenly starts up a new ERP system on the cloud and starts offering it in a very simplistic manner to say, you want your sales process managed, I can do that. You want your inventory managed, I can do that. All you have to do is log into the cloud, put in your data, and I will manage it. It'll get backed up, it'll get secured, all of that stuff. I'll ensure privacy, and suddenly, I don't need an IT department to maintain these applications and manage them and pay for their infrastructure and all the other stuff, right? So, whoever said we might be looking for a job is actually quite a reality. But in fact, these trends are very, very severe right now, right? A lot of big businesses are looking at